Thank you very much, and Jule as we greet in Ladakh. I was told that I would be coming here as some kind of surprise, but I'm actually even more surprised to see many of you who have been working for me. Surprised, right? I'm a great and happy user of Make My Trip and go-mmt. So many of you must have made tickets for me. And I find it very interesting to be among the people who I have been taking help of for many years. Once again, thank you, and Jule, for the warmth of Bangalore, in every sense of the word, coming from icy heights of Ladakh. Thank you for that. So I'll share with you today a little of my journey in life. And it has been a journey of solving problems, facing challenges head-on, and making them into the best opportunities you could have not done without, and of collaborating with different and sometimes unusual comrades, companions along the way to bring change in society. I was born in a very tiny village in Ladakh, which didn't even have a school. It was a village of, or a hamlet of 5 families. Many people would see that as a problem, as an unfortunate thing, but to look at it in another way, I think it was the best thing that happened to me. I didn't have a school to go, yes, but that doesn't mean I didn't learn. Because learning happens in so many different ways, and I sometimes like to say that while you all were perhaps learning about roots and shoots and leaves from the pages of textbooks, I was there with the farmers, seeing the seed go into the earth and seeing roots come out and shoots come up, touching them and feeling them, and of course learning about them. I was climbing up trees, apricot trees, and jumping into the Indus and playing and learning from my mother in my mother tongue. So yeah, a little while ago I was saying I was homeschooled by a mother who was unschooled, and it was actually the best thing that happened to me. And learning in my mother tongue means that I could get a good grasp of my own language first, and then actually it becomes very easy to pick up other languages. I was actually spared at that age all the mumbo jumbo of English and other languages. I could directly learn about concepts, not worry about L-E-A-F and L-E-A-V-E-S and all those things. I could see what leaves do and what roots do. So that way, that otherwise problem was a great opportunity I'm very grateful to. Then it didn't last very long. At 8.5, I was dragged into a school, and there ended my fun learning. But still, because I got a great start, I did quite okay at school, slowly, learning many languages along the way, and with the grasp of my own language, learning languages was not difficult. I ended up now speaking about 9 or 10 languages, because if you have your own language, then it takes months to acquire another. And half of those I learned after I turned 40. So it's all not so real that people can't learn at this age, that age, and all that. So this problem, I'm really grateful. Similarly, I'm very grateful to another incident or accident that happened around when I was 19. I developed a fondness for physics and science and loved the chapter on optics, lenses and mirrors in my 11th grade science, and decided to do engineering. But due to financial challenges, because I decided to do mechanical engineering to follow the lenses and mirrors, and my father wanted me to do civil because there is no scope for those things in a place like Ladakh. On this difference, I had to walk out or was kicked out of the house because I wanted to keep my dream of learning about lenses and mirrors. So I had to earn my own expenses for the engineering because he said, if you do that, you'll do it on your own expenses. And I said, thank you, and got out of the house, but then wondered how to earn for the 3 years of engineering that remained. I went to Ladakh and started teaching 10th grade students, and while doing that, things changed my life forever. Firstly, I could see how perfectly bright students had to go through all these, torture in schools. In those days in Ladakh, which is up in the mountains, a very small minority, 95% of the students used to fail in the 10th grade exams. And while teaching them, I realized that there are so many problems that these students faced for no fault of theirs. They're perfectly bright, that the system actually is failing more than the system, the students, because in any system, whether car making industry or jam making industry, if 95% of the products fail, it's time to check the system. So rather than doing that, people used to blame the students for failing, and I could see how bright they were. Therefore, I decided to actually address this challenge first and to work for bringing reforms in the education sector. Secondly, I started that teaching or coaching system in Ladakh at 19 for just earning my expense for engineering for that year, but it was so successful that by the end of 2 months, I had earned enough for all the 3 years of engineering. So some 4 lakhs in just 1.5 months or so, but that's not really the point. The thing is that got me out of the craze for money, because if you can earn in 2 months for 3 years, you can earn any time. So I got interested in doing more important and interesting things than that. I'm very happy again that I got, in today's words, demonetized at 19. Yeah? So life became much simpler when you know that you can earn anytime you want. So in a way, I say I had a realization that in life it's not just about what I need, but more about what needs me. And these students who were failing by thousands was more in need of me than I was in need of my lenses, mirrors, or money. So therefore, I finished my engineering with half my heart in education reforms, and then together with like-minded people, we went and started changing the system. As sometimes people ask me, you've been working for education reforms for so long, what is your qualification? You're an engineer, aren't you? They expect me to be a PhD in education or something, but I say, no, my biggest qualification is, in doing something about education, is that I am a victim of this system, and victims have all the rights to work in this system. So that's what I have been doing, and it's about working with victims of the system to change the system and engaging young people to find solutions to problems in their context in the real world. Before I go on to the story of how we did what, Ladakh is so different from anything you see around that I'll use some images which would speak more than my 1,000 words. So this is Ladakh in the top north of the country, flanked by Tibet or China and Pakistan. a very different landscape, or rather you could say moonscape or Marsscape. When you fly into Ladakh, it almost seems as if it is uninhabitable until you see closely that there are oases of greenery in the valleys where humans have enriched nature. So the green that you see is man or human made, and very different. We are a tiny microscopic minority in this vast tropical nation. It's very different in every way, but over the years, amidst these harsh environments, people have not only survived but thrived. Civilization with its own language, livelihoods like farming at high altitudes, music, dance, and so on flourished. But being a minority is not easy, especially for children in schools. You don't even speak the language that your textbooks speak. More than that, the textbooks do not have anything that would be relevant to your life at 11,000 feet up in the air. It's all about A for apple, B for ball, but then it goes to F for fan at minus 20 degrees. You don't understand fan, right? These fans and balls were supposed to be examples that associate the child's understanding to something they know, and a fan doesn't help a child at 11,000 feet in any way. It actually confuses them, and if they ask their teacher, what is this fan? The teacher might say, you don't know what is a fan? No, what is it? Actually, I also don't know, because at heights of Ladakh, it actually confuses people more than it helps understand an unknown. Using an unknown to clarify an unknown is a no-brainer, but that's how the system happens to be. And then when they fail, we blame them for failing. That was the irony I wanted to do something about. So it was a situation where 95% or many schools with 0%. Therefore, with like-minded friends and other victims of the system, we set out to change the system. And to change the system, we had to see the bigger picture. It was easy to do coaching courses for 100 students or so, or as some people would suggest, you open a school and become a famous school and so on. But our children, India or Ladakh, doesn't study in these few schools, private schools and so on. They study in the village schools, and therefore those have to change. Until village schools change, India cannot change. So therefore, while private schools, you could raise the level, say, of water by few meters, government schools are like an ocean. If you raise it by even a millimeter, so many lives are touched. So we decided to collaborate with the government, even though it is not easy to work with the government, but collaborating is the answer to finding solutions to the bigger problems in the world. So therefore, we joined forces with other actors to solve a bigger issue. And like I hear, here you are joining forces with like-minded businesses to make a bigger impact. It was a story of joining forces between communities in villages, government who is supposed to run the system, people who elect the system, and civil society organizations like ourselves who could bridge the two and make bigger impact. So Operation New Hope was launched with a triangular collaboration, and a triangle, by the way, is the strongest structure in nature, in the universe. So a triangular collaboration like in your case, to help the children flower was started. And we took one school before we claim and come to change the whole system. We took one school to prototype and see how things change. And seeing really is believing. When they see change in one, people all over get excited. So we established our experiment in one prototype school where everything was changed from the textbooks, how it was related to the people's lives, teachers, how they handled children as respectable young friends rather than little nothings to be insulted and beaten and so on, and organized people to take ownership of these schools as their schools, government schools. And then when this example became a very good success, we joined forces with the victims of the system, the failures who had just suffered their fall in these exams, to spread this message to all the regions of Ladakh. So there were lots of campaigns where these young, otherwise helpless souls would go into villages and tell their stories, and then tell the story of how things can change. For example, in this school, to different schools in all parts of Ladakh, sometimes involving 1 to 2 weeks of trekking. Why? Because we believed that in a democracy, it has to be the people's priorities that change. Only then lasting change can happen. Otherwise, you can go and talk to a minister and get things changed, or a commissioner. They may be friendly and good and change things, but the next government will undo everything. But for it to be lasting, it has to be people's priorities, people's programming. If education becomes their priority, then it will naturally become the priority of the government also. If not, then it is water, then it is roads, then it is subsidized rice and things don't change. So we wanted the lasting solution, even if longer, cut rather than the shortcut. So likewise, joining forces with the government, the boards, we changed the curriculum and the textbooks. We redid all the primary school textbooks to reflect a region like Ladakh, where it can make sense to the people what they study, so that it strengthens them in their life rather than confuses them like with F for fan. And because of this joining of forces by different stakeholders, the results started changing too. Because earlier, it used to be said that Ladakhi children are hopeless, useless. They are, some teachers who would come from Kashmir and Jammu would say Ladakhi children would never do well. They would even invent pseudo-scientific reasons, like you have not enough oxygen in the air, so your brains won't work. By this time, at least we proved it was not oxygen. Yeah? The effect of oxygen was perhaps more on those who devised such theories than on the children. So yes, the results improved, but then 25% still fail, and that's not good enough. It may look like good data, figures, but it's not just figures. It's like real souls, live souls. We take things as figures, except when it touches us. Then even 1% is very big, if that 1% is us. And therefore we said there should be no one feeling like failure. Therefore we should have a school that is designed for them. And therefore we started another very interesting school on the deserts of Pei, which was like this in 1994. And we wanted to set up an interesting different schools where different kind of students who are good in their own different ways could study and learn and do well in common people's, in common people's parameters also. So this was what we did in the next 5 years on that desert. It became the Sekmol Alternative School. It's an interesting school to begin with. It's a school where the admission criteria is that you have failed in the conventional school system, yeah? Your grades and distinctions don't help here. May put you in the waiting list at best. But if you have failed, you can almost be sure. Failure with a fire, that's what we look for. It's also a different school in that it's also for us grown-ups to learn to live on this planet in a light way without destroying it. Can we have a comfortable life still? So therefore, this school is all built with natural materials like earth or soil, which we find right under our feet. And it's totally powered by the sun. Again, a natural source of energy right over our heads, and most affordable to everybody. There's nobody who is so poor, can't afford soil, can't afford sun, as long as they have 2 hands. So human resource bringing these natural resources so that everybody can live happily ever after. Yeah? That was an experiment we wanted to do also. On the banks of Indus, you can see it's in the middle of almost nowhere. It's a different school in that here we don't believe that children need to only read and write and memorize. And those who are not good for these memorizing and reading things, there's nothing wrong with them. Actually, they are natural. Those who can do without or with reading and writing alone are unusual, because human beings have evolved over millions of years to be dealing with real world, not with reading and listening to lectures all day. Never in human history were we made to sit 8 hours in a room listening to lectures and writing things on a piece of paper. We have evolved to tackle things in life, live and real, and learn that way. So at this school, we follow nature, learning by doing, experientially. So to do that, the best way we thought was to run the school itself like a little country. So this school is run by the students themselves with only guidance from the grown-ups as a little country. This little country has a little government which changes every 2 months, and they elect a leader, and the leader plans with the other leaders, or they assign responsibilities to them and plan, execute during the 2 months, and then report in the parliament every 2 months. And the responsibilities that the students take are not like made up mock things. They are actually real responsibilities to run the school. So they run the school like a little country where students take serious responsibilities like taking care of the animals like cows, which is also to say that they get all their milk and much of their food products from the school itself. So there are others who take care of gadgets like solar heating devices, others who run the organic farms to produce food, power plants, and greenhouses that produce fresh greens even in -20 winters. So these are all taken care of by the students as their portfolios, like in a real country, in a real government. And innovations generally revolve around real life themes that mean much to people living in a place like Ladakh, around earth, sun, ice, and fire, I say. So earth, as I said, is the material with which the whole school is made. Together with the students, we design and build these earth buildings, and sun is the source of energy that heats, and it's high school science that is applied practically, what they read in the books, to make real life comfortable. So as you can see there, as the sun hits the building through a greenhouse that rolls down in winter and rolls up in summer, the air is heated and convection takes place, part of their high school science, and that makes air become lighter and go into the building through the upper windows, lose its heat to the big fat walls, earth walls, therefore cool down, become heavier and fall down through the stairwells and get pushed into the greenhouse again, get heated, go inside. A convection current, just like our earth has, because of which winds blow, they can see that right in their building, and it's a direct application of what they study in their 8th or 9th or 10th class. So the science they study is used to make their own lives comfortable. So what happens is that because of this, in -20 winters, they are at +15 inside, comfortably. And science applied in real life. Similarly, almost all other needs are met with the sun. So from cooking with the concave mirror dishes that focus the rays of the sun into a secondary mirror reflector, and then the pot above it boils for 50 to 100 people cooking. Greenhouses that make vegetables in winters, to natural lighting, to electricity, water heating, water pumping. Even cows at this campus live in solar heated cow sheds, happily. Some people ask me, what is the favorite gadget you have here? And I say, I don't see that. My favorite gadget, you can't touch, you can't take a picture. There is no moving part. And it's my best solar lighting device. And I sometimes say, I'll give you all as a gift this solar lighting device that will save energy for you, like 1/3 of what you use and so on. Why it can't be seen? Any guesses? Okay, I can't hear, but I'll tell you. This little country has its own standard time, the campus standard time, which is 1 hour ahead of the Indian standard time. Nothing about secession or sedition, huh? Don't misunderstand. It's just the best way to make teenagers go to bed early and get up with the sunrise, And it's beautiful because just a little turn of the clock and you go to bed early and get up early, and that's the best solar device, because this best solar device, what impresses me is not cutting edge photovoltaics or lithium ion batteries or LED light bulbs and so on. The best solar lighting, most beautiful and natural, is what happens outside your window at 5:30 in the morning. But most of us sleep through that till 8, till 9, and if possible till 10 or 11. And then we keep the lights on against nature till 1 in the morning at night. It's again flowing against nature. And I was doing a back of the envelope calculation, and I saw that if 7 billion people of the world, or 1.3 of our country, all decide to go 1 hour ahead, or to go to bed soon after dark and get up with the sunrise, many of our coal-fired thermal plants and nuclear plants could be closed down. In other words, you can save the planet by just sleeping. Sleeping right, though. So this is not only my gift to you, this solar lighting device or system, it's my appeal to you also. If you do this for 1 week, all of you, maybe my carbon footprint of coming from Ladakh to Bangalore all the way will be equalized. So please, a gift that you must use. And then we learn together with the students to use our ancestral techniques and new techniques of building with earth and making education fun and applied, hands-on. that can be used indirectly in real life. Here they're having fun making a little chicken house out of earth and straw. Now coming to ice, I said ice can be a lot of fun and serious business also. Ladakh is known for its ice and ice hockey. You may have heard or not that India has very strong ice hockey teams in Ladakh, and young people look up to winters for the ice season. But until about 12 years ago or 15, this interesting sport of ice hockey was restricted to men only. Women had no place in it. So we said, why? Why is it? And learned that that's because they played on reservoirs and ponds, and they were not conveniently located. So women couldn't go to those places. So we made this one that you just saw. Did you? This ice rink, perhaps India's largest open-air ice rink, right outside the girls' hostel at this school. And the girls could have fun and play mornings, evenings, and then slowly they made a team at the school, and then they started developing teams in other regions of Ladakh, and soon inter-district tournaments, and then national. And you should know that last year, and 2016 and 17, India sent its own women's ice hockey team at the Asia Challenge Cup in Taipei and Bangkok, and won many matches. Of course, you may not hear about that because you're occupied with cricket. So ice can be a lot of fun and serious business too. 3 years ago, we took on another challenge that Ladakh was facing with climate change. There were more and more water shortage in springtime as glaciers were receding and becoming smaller. And then after spring, in summer, they melt fast and actually cause floods. You have excess of water in summer and dire shortage of water in spring, because all the plants need water in spring, and there is only little because natural glaciers are not melting yet. So we thought how to solve that problem, because after summer into autumn and winter, there is still water flowing in the streams, but nobody needs it in winter. It goes all waste into Indus and into the Arabian Sea. So together with our students, we worked on this interesting experiment to see if water from the winter, which keeps flowing without anybody using it, could be frozen in little mountains of ice that then melt only in spring when everybody needs water, stored till springtime when water is needed. Now, you can think of making ice, but flat ice on the ground melts very fast. So Ladakh has hardly any ice by the end of March. So how can you keep ice till April or May? And therefore, we used a little bit of high school geometry. You may have heard that spheres, hemispheres, and then cones are shapes that have minimal surface area for the given volume. So we saw that sun melts the ice. How can you cut down the sun? You can't cover it with an umbrella, but you can use geometry. If you make a cone of ice which has minimal surface area and pointing towards the sun cannot melt it. And therefore, it may stay till April or May when water is most needed. So this was an hypothesis, and we worked on this little prototype. And very interestingly, it lasted till May, mid-May. The prototype, 2-story tall ice mountain, lasted till mid-May. And encouraged by that, we started working on pilots, because if this works, then bigger scale may work and solve problems of the people. Now, this is a very simple technique. I'll try to show you how it works. Oops, no. This animation doesn't seem to work, but anyway, It's so simple, again, like the houses that are heated without any moving parts, just by convection of air. Similarly, this uses only gravity, no moving parts, no pumps, no electricity, nothing. All you do is just put a pipe upstream. Being mountains, there's always an upstream and downstream, and you bring it down. Therefore, high school science says water wants to maintain its level. So water coming from a higher level wants to go to the same level. There is a pressure to go to the same level. If you put a fountain, then water sprays, gushes and sprays into the air, minus 20 air, and thereby loses its heat. Another high school term is latent heat. It loses its latent heat, which is what keeps a liquid before it becomes solid. So latent heat that they study in textbooks and memorize for exams can be actually used for something big that can solve thousands of people's problems. So making the water work for itself, you don't have to move anything to make a big ice mountain like this. Just making the water flow and then freeze into a cone of ice. This is 65 feet tall and contained 1 million liters of water. Now it was a shape that resembled our traditional spiritual monuments called stupas. So we decided to call it ice stupas because you want your experiments to not only work in your laboratories, but also make a place in people's hearts. So therefore, we called it or related it to traditional stupas, and stupas are known for their prayer flags, as you can see. Those are traditional stupas. So we tried to join forces with spiritual leaders and the traditions of the community to make a bigger impact by putting prayer flags on the ice stupas also. And we were not lying when we said, if you put prayer flags, the ice will last longer. They may have thought some divine forces will do that, but it was mostly for windbreak in spring and partial shading from the sun. Yeah? And that's how this ice would last longer. And irrigate the 5,000 trees that the villagers planted as a proof of concept to see if trees could survive where there cannot be any trees in the desert, thanks to this. And then, as I said, it's about joining forces with other stakeholders and making a bigger impact. So we joined forces with spiritual leaders like His Holiness Chetsang Rinpoche, who is one of the top spiritual leaders in Tibetan Buddhism after His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And His Holiness patronized this concept of ice stupas because it solves climate change adaptation. And when a spiritual leader takes the message, it goes much farther than an engineer's words or work. So therefore, you can go much further when you, like radio, when you, piggyback ride on other forces that there are. And therefore, we started making ice stupas into the hearts of the people. And this year, it was 84 feet tall and contained 3.5 million liters of water. And as it slowly melts, this ice stupa, here it's about how it is made. You make a dome inside at the center for controlling the pipes and so on. And for that, you make a form of dome with willow sticks or plastic meshes or whatever, and use bushes around to kickstart the ice formation, and then keep a tunnel like that as you start. And then soon the fountain gushes and first makes the bushes freeze, and once it is frozen, it's a vault, a parabolic vault, which is known for taking its own load, and you don't need any other structural members to take the load. So that's how an ice stupa is, with a central dome and a tunnel. And that dome now we are working on to make into ice bars, ice restaurants, ice hotels. Yeah? And we are working with the village. This valley is called Phyang Valley, where we are working. This Phyang Valley we are working to develop as a winter tourism valley hotspot. You might very soon be selling tickets to Ladakh for winters. You're only doing it for summers now. And you might be sending your clients to ice hotels for the exclusive experience. It's done in many countries, in the Scandinavian countries, and it's considered a very exclusive experience, and people are happy to pay up to, 30,000 rupees a night. And that's what we will be using to make water for the farmers. It will be experience for the tourists inside and water for the farmers, cross-subsidizing with tourism. And you will definitely feel good about nation building while you're also doing your business, yeah? Because tourism can be an amazing nation building exercise if done in the right ways to make people stronger. For example, rural tourism that we are also starting in Ladakh, in this Phyang Valley. It will be known for winter tourism, but it is already known for something called farm stay tourism, which we started when we saw that water issues can be solved, but the young people migrating to cities, how do you solve that? If there are no young people, what can water do? So we started another project with the mothers of the families to make their homes into income generation sources. They are employed by their own house by keeping 2 or 3 rooms and making farming a destination, farming as an experience. So we call them Ladakh farm stays. And at these farm stays, many tourists come, and that way when income comes, young people stay. When young people stay, the village is again very vibrant and happy village again. Otherwise, this village was affected by migration to the city. So this is the melting phase of the ice stupa. In May, when the ice stupa melts and gives its water to the trees that are grown here, it was giving 50,000 liters a day on any sunny day. When there was no water at all to spare and people would have conflict about every drop of water, this one was giving 50,000 liters for the 5,000 trees. This is from June when a Japanese group came. So it is growing smaller and smaller and giving its life to the trees that were planted by the people. So 5,000 trees are growing thanks to this intervention. And it can now be used for bigger threats. I don't know if you know, all over the Himalayas, there are disasters developing, ticking time bombs of water. One of these was the Kedarnath incident, a glacial lake that forms because of fast melting glaciers, and sometimes it bursts open and takes thousands of lives. So such lakes are forming, roughly 8,000 of them over the Hindu Kush Himalayas, and 300 are declared dangerous. And we are now working to use this technique from this school to solve that threat. And we have already started with the Sikkim government to handle this very dangerous lake called Lonak Lake at 17,000 feet. And for the Sikkim government, we went with my students again to apply a very simple technique, another technique, high school science, called siphon. Many people understand it as the easiest way, as the method with which teenagers steal petrol from their neighbors' cars, yeah? So you just suck a little and you lower it and out comes the liquid. But that's very small. For a lake of this dimension, of course, it had to be huge pipes, and they had to be taken on yak backs for 4 days of trek. I sometimes wonder what the Chinese satellites would have thought of seeing this scene. Yak-mounted cannons advancing towards them. But of course, it was for a more serious enemy, climate change, to deal with climate change rather than them. So it was also an operation with the Indian Army, the ITBP, engineers and scientists in Sikkim, to make an operation on this lake to siphon out the lake and lower its level by 3 meters so that it is no longer as dangerous. And it was an interesting exercise where we had to join the pipes at the lake, the yak-back pipes, and then float it down. And we used another high school science, Archimedes' principle, to know that the pipes could be joined on the lake itself and floating it down through the lake mouth rather than joining it one by one on this board of the lake, which there is no place, as you can see. And then we floated it down because we found that it would float so much that it would hardly touch any rocks using Archimedes' principle. So that's how we worked for a week on this project, and by the 7th or 8th day, there was 50 liters per second from each pipe, or 150 liters siphoned out. But when you see these pipes with water, you should be reminded of another thing, that's ice stupas. So now we are working to refreeze the lake, which is siphoned, into ice stupas, matrices of them, dozens of them down along the valley. These would be tens or scores of ice stupas growing and then merging with each other, finally becoming a sheet of ice roughly 12 meters thick. And in a summer, only 6 meters melt, so there will be 6 meters left when the winter comes, and another 12 would be added. 6 goes and 12 remains, and then another 12 added. In other words, a growing sheet of huge ice, or reglaciating the Himalayas, something that has not happened since the last ice age 10,000 years ago, if it works. It's not been done. We are simulating each component of it in the high valleys of Ladakh at 15,000 feet, and once all of them work, this is the operation. But then I say, you cheer me up, but this is just bandage solution. You know, we are only trying to adapt. Even at its best, even if we are able to make artificial glaciers of real glacial size, it will still be a bandage solution, tinkering with nature. The real solution, I always say, lies with you all in the big cities. It's our lifestyle that has become a problem for the planet. So if you all in the big cities live simply, then we in the mountains can simply live. That's where I would like you to be a part of the solution rather than the problem. Use my solar device and use many other commonsensical things to not let climate change happen, not let global emissions go higher and higher. And now finally, we are working to make such solutions to local problems a part of every young person's life, rather than some freak engineer or scientist doing it. Make it a part of the university, that they learn to find solutions to real problems rather than just reading and writing in classrooms and listening lectures to death. So here on this desert, which you saw, at the tip of it you saw the 5,000 trees. We'll be increasing that down and further down to make it into a green valley like that, where we hope to start an alternative university, which will be very different from any universities of now, where people spend more time on practical applications than on lectures, and where they learn to solve real life problems. And with the Rolex award that you may have heard of, we launched this university by contributing it to the, this project, and we have had overwhelming support from everywhere. People offering not just money, but their services, volunteering, professors who are freshly retired coming to teach, even CEOs of companies quitting their jobs to come and make this happen. But we are most impressed when young people like this 7th grader from Delhi started a campaign of his own and raised 35,000 rupees or so for this university that he wanted to see for his time when he grows up, something that is more real, more practical. There's a short film. I don't know if it has sound. Can we play that? No. There's a short film that maybe you can play from your system, which which summarizes what we are doing. There's no sound here, but can we play it from your system if it is not this one? Yeah? Can we stop this and play from your system, because the sound I cannot hear. This summarizes our past work and the concept of this university, which then solves problems of the people in
like
different
climate
fields.
change.
Okay, can we go from the beginning maybe? Oops. Can we go to the beginning? Yeah.
I've never let my schooling interfere with my education. So said Mark Twain. How about you? Do you miss your school or college days? You perhaps do, but perhaps not for the classrooms and teachings. You actually perhaps wished every day that the school be closed the next day so you could stay home. But here's a school in Ladakh where the most dreaded punishment is to be sent home for 2 weeks, where students learn by doing things, where they engage in various innovations to solve real-life problems like climate change, where they run the school themselves like a little country with an elected government and learn management and governance that way, where they learn communication by running the campus newspaper and radio, science by designing and building their own school, solar-heated mud buildings that stay at +15 even when -15 winters. Kindness and compassion through introspection and meditation. A school where the criteria of admission is not your percentage, but that the conventional system has failed you.
Hi, I'm Sonam Wangchuk from Ladakh, a remote mountain region in the Indian Himalayas. 25 years ago, when I was finishing my own engineering education, I saw that schools were a pain for everyone, but for mountain children, it was doubly painful and irrelevant. Children who spoke Ladakhi or Tibetan at home were made to sit all day memorizing in alien languages like Urdu or English. F for fan, S for ship, T for train.
Till recently, every year, 95% of the students used to fail in the all-important 10th grade exams.
Together with like-minded friends, we launched SECMOL, the Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh, and said enough is enough.
Working with the government, we rewrote many textbooks, retrained the teachers, and organized the villagers. And the results started changing too. For those who still failed, we started the alternative school that you just saw. And the results? Tewang Rigzin went on to become a top journalist and later became the education minister of Ladakh Hill Council at 27. He had failed his 10th grade 5 times. Stanzin became a filmmaker and has been winning awards across countries. He had failed 4 times. Miss Tinless is today a celebrated social entrepreneur. She had failed 3 times. But now we see that the state of higher education is no better. Not only for Ladakhis, who of course are doubly disadvantaged again, but for you in the big cities too. It's time we change this. We in Ladakh are dreaming again. This time our dream is to create an alternative university that will use all our learnings from the past 25 years. Once again, a hands-on doers university, where the School of Business runs real-life companies on campus. The School of Tourism runs high-end hotels and simple homestays. The School of Education runs innovative schools. The revenues from these sustain the university while the students get free higher education and of course hands-on experience. But this is more than a dream now. His Holiness Chetsang Rinpoche, one of the top spiritual leaders in Tibetan Buddhism after His Holiness the Dalai Lama, is supporting this cause as the chief patron. The Hill Council government of Ladakh has earmarked roughly 200 acres of land, and the Ice Stupa artificial glaciers have already started greening this desert. A fully solar-heated, mud-built university township is being planned by some of India's top architects.
Together, let's start the next learning revolution, where education is not limited to just the 3 R's, all too much to do with the head alone, where skills of the hands and kindness of the heart are given equal importance. Sure, it would take significant financial resources to materialize this ambitious dream. Recently, I was awarded the prestigious Rolex Award for Enterprise for the Ice Stupa artificial glaciers.
Sonam Wangchuk.
I contribute my Rolex Award as a seed for this cause. Thank you very much. I have decided to contribute the roughly 1 crore rupees as a seed fund to finally raise 150 crore rupees for the first phase of the project. And I very much hope that you all will join me and match this contribution according to your capacities. Together, we can change the face of higher education forever, not just for Ladakh, but for the whole world.
So join us. The future has already begun.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.